Welcome back to Soul Purpose with Shemama. This is your host, Shenora Lechleidner, and it was a lot easier to record in Punta Cana. Welcome back, guys. There is so much that has happened since we have returned from Punta Cana, and so I'm just going to catch you up on a little bit. If you follow me on social media, you kind of know what's going on. But when we got back from Punta Cana, everything was going well, and I was like, this is a change. And then the Friday after we got back, as we were dropping my daughter off for her part-time job, my car was smoking. And this is a car that I've been praying for us to get out of since we got it. It wasn't as bad when we got it because I had realized that it was an answered prayer. And I'll give you a little bit of history on that. When I was graduating from high school, I said, Daddy, I really want a baby blue Jaguar with cream or white leather seats. And I wanted to sparkle a little bit. And my daddy said, well, when you graduate from college, I will work on it and we'll get that to you. So I did not graduate college right away. I actually stopped for some years and then went back in 2010, which also happened to be the year that my infertility journey ended and I got pregnant with Cherish. But I promised myself that I would not quit until I was finished. In the sense of, it didn't matter if I was having babies, I'm going to finish my degree. And I did that. Now, between the time I graduated from high school and college, my dad had a stroke that ultimately took his life back in 2017. And when I graduated from college, I said, Daddy, are you going to give me that Jaguar? He goes, I'm working on it, baby. There was no way that he could possibly do that at that time since he was bedridden. And when my husband got down to Georgia, the original plan was for him to Uber from the place of shelter that we thought that we were going to have for quite a significant amount of time. And then we would, like, once my half of the family got down there, because my husband came down here by himself first. And once the kids and I came down with the van, we would then focus on getting a home and then eventually new vehicles. That was the plan. It didn't happen that way. Him being here less than 2 weeks, we had to emergently buy a vehicle. And I was shopping online while he was working because as soon as he got down here, he got to work. So there was no real time for him to go around and look at vehicles and do all the normal things that people would do. Now, at this particular time, we had also been in a financial constraint because he had been laid off, I want to say, for more than 40 days, and there was no unemployment. So with that being said, we were already in a position, okay? And we hadn't sold the house yet, and we had to buy this vehicle. So I'm trying to find the cheapest thing online that I can find. And when the salesman reached out to me, he said, I don't think you should buy this particular vehicle. That's too many miles, too much money. And he's like, I'm going to give you another link so that you can look at our other dealerships. And I saw the X3. And so what's so funny about that is that the previous Christmas we were in Detroit and my little sister drove up in an X3. And then earlier that year, not even too much earlier, my brother had an X3 as well because the car that he had used to drive to surprise my mom, it wound up dying like as soon as he left after Thanksgiving. And so he had X3. And so at Christmas, I was like, wouldn't that be funny if I got an X3 next year? This X3 was the cheapest on the website. And I knew that it was BMW, but I didn't really know like all what came with that. I just knew that maybe this was a sign that I was supposed to get it. So it was baby blue. Didn't even realize it at the time of me purchasing it, and I never looked at the interior. We were just trying to get him transportation quickly so he wouldn't lose his job. So when my husband FaceTimed me and showed me the inside of the car as he's picking me up from the salesman, um, I lost it. Because I'm like, here you are in my daddy's homeland. And if you're new here, you can go back to last season where I talk about our move here to LaGrange, Georgia. And it just felt like my daddy fulfilled his promise because I had a baby blue. It wasn't a Jaguar. I told him after I had kids, I said, Daddy, I think I'm going to need a bigger car than a Jaguar. I need like something like a SUV or something. And it was a BMW, but it had the cream leather seats. Well, this car, after about just even a couple of months, we started having issues. And of course, we weren't in a position to really get all the things addressed. And because we were trying to find shelter, like there was just so many things happening at once. And so, even though this vehicle was just a small glimpse of, okay, God fulfills, and God does not have to fulfill car promises. Okay. That was just a vain desire of mine. I don't even know why I had it. Okay. But the simple fact that he did not forget about me. But sometimes what gets you there is not what's supposed to sustain you here. Okay. Just because it got us here doesn't mean it's supposed to sustain us. And that car started smoking, and I cleaned it out because the shop said, we're going to get it towed. We don't want you to drive it anymore. Now, I've been ignoring the burning smelling for a couple of weeks because I thought it was coolant. And so I don't know if I made the problem worse or what, but I did what they told me to do. And when they came back with the estimate, baby, we ain't got it. We are still recovering from being unhoused. And what I mean by that, guys, we were not on the street. We were taken in by a bonus aunt who lives about an hour away from LaGrange. But that is hard on our van to drive an hour to and from because we didn't even have the money to fix up the van. Truth be told, we were told to trade this van in 6 months after we got here. And it's holding on to God's unchanging hand. So all of these things, are coming to mind as I'm thinking about this estimate, and I'm just like, we might as well just trade it in. Well, we don't really have that that flexibility right now. We're upside down in the loan, and our credit is just not where we desire for it to be. Because when you are rebuilding your credit, it takes a lot of time. Okay. I don't want anybody to ever lie to you. It's never an overnight situation. It takes time and patience. And we're not necessarily at a level where we can just, let's pay down a bunch of debts at once. And that way, we're ready in less than 15 days. God can do anything, but you got to be realistic in this. So this time, I'm waiting on the Lord and being patient, but also impatient because I'm still looking at cars online. I truly believe that you have to be ready. Like if somebody were to come up to you and say, what do you want? You have to be ready. And so in my mind, I want the Subaru Ascent or Toyota Grand Highlander. Neither of those are in our budget. But the reason why I want them is because how long they last and minimal maintenance. We have learned the hard way that when you have a car like a BMW that's full of plastic, there's still some expensive cost to maintenance because of the name that is on there. Also, the BMW here, the dealership, nope, 0 stars. I am not a fan. I only go there when I have to, and that is like for recalls and stuff. But I will never. And I know you're not supposed to say never, but unless somebody gives me a BMW with at least 5 years of maintenance covered, I'm not going back. No. Absolutely not. And there was one point in time where I wanted an X7. I was like, oh, we could just upgrade. No, baby. No, because they tried to charge me $400 in LaGrange for an oil change. That's neither here nor there. So here's the thing. I am trying to figure out, what we're gonna do as far as this vehicle, and that means that I have to wake up in the mornings and take my husband to work in order for me to have my car. I'm not crying from emotional crying because it's cold. That's why I got this background here, because I want to remember Punta Cana. And as I am literally having a meltdown after church last Sunday in this van, my kids say, well, I want to go on a walk. And I'm like, I don't want to go on no walk. They were upstairs and we were in the van. And I said, well, let me go upstairs and I'll just get myself together. Because I just don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. And it's like, oh, we already locked the door. So now you got to go on a walk with us. And then they asked for hot chocolate. I'm like, no. So I'm like, no. We just had a whole weekend of celebration. I'm not letting you have hot chocolate. We just had all this sugar. And my husband goes, well, what, we can just let the two littles have hot chocolate because, Cher's had sweets today already. I go into this, our clubhouse, and even with all the clues, I still had no idea what was going on. My husband threw me a surprise birthday party. And if you go on Facebook or Instagram, even TikTok, you will see the footage from that. And I just cried. Thankfully, they didn't get all the footage from that. I cried for a moment because I was already crying, number one, because I'm just like, God, this just seems so impossible. And we had just paid off one debt. And I'm like, God, I don't want to go back in debt just to fix this vehicle, knowing that it doesn't even fit us. The kids are so tall. They're so uncomfortable in this vehicle. We've outgrown it. But if I have to wait on you and we have to do this and I'm okay with it, but I also don't want to be in this vehicle, but I also don't want to repossess it. There's so many things that's going through in my mind while on this walk. And then I get surprised. And that's how life is sometimes, where you're pretty much coming to your end. And yet God is working it out in the background, ready for a surprise, ready to celebrate you, ready to bless you. And it may not be a surprise party, but it's just his goodness and his mercy towards you. I was so hurt in Punta Cana for like at least, I don't know, a couple of hours, because I said, the kids didn't send you with a card or nothing. I was such a brat. Because I said, even though, I'm usually the gift giver and I'm the one who plans everything, I warned them. I said, okay, y'all, I'm turning 40 this year. I'm going to need y'all to start pre-planning, figure out something, go with daddy. It can be a car. You can make me a car. I don't care what it is. And my daughter usually makes me a card no matter what. So I thought, okay, maybe they're waiting for me to get home. Nope. Nope. And so one of the first things she said was, you thought I didn't get your gift. They hid this from me so good. And I have a very discerning spirit, and I did not discern any of this whatsoever. I'm so grateful to God for my family. And that party was right on time, because I'm just like, God, dog, we just left vacation. I was just stress-free. And now my heartburn and came back because I don't know what we're going to do. And of course, I'm asking God for wisdom, but it's just like trying to fix the situation right now in a rush is going to get us back in the same situation that we are right now. And I don't want to do that. I want to wait on the Lord, and I want to continue to walk this thing out the way that He wants me to, so I can hear surprise. It was working out in your favor all along. December is a special month. And during this week of trying to figure out what's happening, my husband's tire on the van, it couldn't hold air. And I had to go to my church for something, and one of the ministers came and looked at it, and he told me exactly where to go, because we have not had tires since we moved to Georgia. And I listened to him, and I went and I got it fixed. And I don't know why it was just so dramatic for me. Probably because I'm just like, we already lost one car. I don't necessarily really want to lose another vehicle. Then what are we going to do? But as I'm talking to him, he's like, well, how long have you had it? And I said, well, since 2014. I said, you know what? It was December. It was December, and my daughter had a Christmas program, and we had a fairly tough year, and I was pregnant. But I had to trade my car in because 3 car seats wouldn't fit in our Equinox. And when we tried to trade it in, we couldn't do it. There was no good deal. And then the dealership called us and said somebody wants to buy your Equinox. So we said, okay, we can do that. We got some stuff to do today, but maybe you can let my husband bring the car to me so that I can work on it while I get my daughter ready for her program. Plus, I'm pregnant. I don't want to be at the dealership all day. So they brought me back this Dodge. I think it was like a 2010 or 2012. And I do not like them cloth seats, the ones that are just extra. Oh, I don't like them. I don't like them. I prefer leather, but if it's going to be cloth, I don't want it to be fuzzy cloth. And it didn't have a USB so I can hook up my music. And I was just like, God, you did not bring us this far for me to compromise in this way. I called the dealership and I said, this is not going to work. And they said, well, this is the best that we have for you considering your credit score. I said, our credit score is like that because my husband was laid off several times this year, but God has kept us. I know exactly what we need, but I'm not going to settle. And they said, well, this is the best that you can get. And I said, then I will go somewhere else and figure out what God's best is for me. And so they hung up and I said, I'm sending my husband back with this van. I'm sorry to whoever want to buy this Equinox, but it ain't happening. And so he came back with the vehicle that we have now. And they called me and said, what do you think about that? And I said, it's okay, but I can't make a decision because we got to get to my daughter's program. They said, that's okay. Take it to the program and then bring it back to the dealership and tell us what you think about it. And maybe we can figure out a deal. I said, I thought you said I couldn't get anything better than what you offered me before. Leather seats, got a TV. I asked for automatic start, no down payment, even with our poor credit. And they worked it out. I didn't know that was going to happen that day. We didn't go to the dealership. The dealership called us. And we had so many failed attempts earlier in the year, knowing that we had to prepare for our third child. That night, we come in the house. And we had already stopped by the house. My husband said, I got to go in here and do something. I don't even know what he said he had to do. But our friends had texted him and said, hey, leave your house door open for us. We have a surprise for Shenora. And so he didn't tell me anything. And that night, after spending all that time at the dealership, because I still had to do that, we come in the house. George goes in first. And he goes, oh my God. And I was like, what? Did we get robbed? He's like, babe, somebody's been in our house. And I'm like, oh God, we just got this van. I cannot handle this. And I walk in and there's Christmas presents and things that we need filling our living room. Because even though we were in our heart, I was volunteering at the Salvation Army, loving on families that I felt like didn't even have as much as we had. And they had adopted us out. And my kids, even my unborn child, had everything that they needed. But you know what made me cry the most? It was this, a lunch, the stainless steel, soup things. I'm crying now, so I can't even think about it, what it is. If I figure it out after I record, I'll let it pop up on the screen or something. But I want to say it was a Stanley. It was a Stanley. And I said, oh, this is going to be perfect for George because maybe I can send him to work with soup because it's so cold in the winter. So they didn't think about just the kids. They thought about my husband too because they knew he worked hard. And so we were just in awe. And my little two girls were just like, Mommy, Santa came. And I'm like, obviously. And I'm such a Grinch. Okay, I did not want to put up a tree, but because we had the girls, I had put up a tree like 2 days before. And I was just like, I usually don't do that. I usually wait until the week of Christmas to put a tree up. But something impressed upon me to put this tree up for my girls. And so therefore they had Christmas in that whole living room. And I was able to live off of some of that stuff, cleaning supplies, for years. So it took this past week of hardship and uncertainty and joy and just unexpected schedules to remind me that God sees us all the time. That He always works in the background. And even after I record this, and I'm assuring you of this, I'm pretty sure that I will doubt a couple more times this week. I didn't even want to record today. I said, oh, well, I woke up with George. I need to rest. I know I got to work at 9. And then I found out that I don't even work until 10. So what's my excuse? Am I going to live and be and exist as if God is faithful or not? This year I said yes to God no matter what. And so this is a part of my yes. I don't know if this will encourage you or if it's more cathartic for me. But I'm recording this because I know that there is a plan that God has for us. He has goodness in store for us. And I want to be able to look back on this and say, see what the Lord has done. And I hope you take inventory of your life and you go back and you see what the Lord has done and be confident that He will do it again. I love you and I mean it.